Recording as well. I teach at Bhaktivedanta Manor, which is like the European headquarters for ISKCON, if you like. It's one of the biggest temples in Europe. And I also teach at Mayapur Institute in Mayapur, and also, of course, for Paratattva Catuspati. And I also get invited to talk in some other places to do with religious education or philosophy and theology. Okay, we have some more people joining us. Okay, so before we, I guess, before we begin in earnest, what I would like to do is just say that we are going to have these Isopanisad sessions every Monday and 4 weeks. Yeah, and then after that, we have the closed book test for Isopanisad and also Nectar of Devotion, which is a combined test. Did you do the questions for Nectar of Instruction? Did you go through all the closed book questions with the teacher? Good, excellent, good. So we will do the same thing with Isho as well. To make sure you're on the same page, everybody. A couple of little etiquette things just while we're in the classroom. I speak in English. Sometimes I might speak a bit fast. And if you need me to slow down my English speech, please tell me. I do want you to hear what I say. I do want to hear what you say too. So please don't be afraid to put up your hand and say, Prabhu, you're talking too fast. I don't understand. It's not a problem. I can slow down. Or if I need to repeat something or explain something more clearly, please do let me know. Yeah. We will have an interactive session. I'm not just going to talk. You're going to talk. I'm going to talk. You're going to do group work in breakout rooms. You may even be asked to present part of a class in small groups. And I'm thinking of doing that with the last 4 texts. So you give the class, not me. Okay, and I might split this class up into 2 groups. And we'll discuss how that works. I've done it before and it can work very nicely. You do need some time to prepare it, but I'll help you with that. Another thing is, as I say, because the classes are interactive, I will ask you questions. Sometimes you want to ask questions. Sometimes you will be asked to have a discussion and contribute back. So when that happens, do you all know how to use the raise hand function on Zoom? Presumably you do. Okay, so please use that raise hands function. Don't talk over each other because otherwise it becomes messy. I know these are basic things, but if I don't cover them now, then later on, it becomes disruptive. So please do observe just a few small etiquettes in the classroom if you don't mind. And that will be fantastic. When you are speaking, please do turn your videos on when you are speaking, at least, so that we can see who is speaking and you can communicate with the class. It makes it much more interesting that way. And the last thing, I guess, or last couple of things is, today we're going to cover the introduction for Sri Isopanisad. Next week, we will cover the invocation and mantras 1, 2, and 3. Sri Rupanuga Prabhu, please keep your sound off. Thank you. And anything else that I've got scribbled down here quickly that I might need to talk to you about? I think that's about it. Okay. So then let's just go around the room. You don't know me yet. I've introduced myself a little bit. I'd like to know who you are, please. So quick 2 minutes, just go around the room and you just introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, where you're living, what you do, whether you are whether you're in work or whether you're at college and studying or serving. Just a little, 30, 40 seconds about yourself, please. Let's begin with Rangavali Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. My name is Rangavali Gopi Devidasi, and I live in Bangalore, and I'm connected to ISKCON Koromangala, His Grace Vijay Venugopal Prabhu and Prema Padmini Mataji. And I'm a homemaker. I used to be a teacher, so since last 2 years, I'm at home. I quit my job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm doing.
Nice. So full-time devotional service then. Nice. Nice to meet you. Thank you for introducing yourself. Prabhu, Arya Govinda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. My name is Arya Govinda Das. I'm husband to Rangavalli Kopi Devi Dasi. And I'm horticulturist by profession. I grow roses. I still work in, I'm from Bangalore also. I grow roses. I used to be there in Kenya for the last 9 years. Now I've relocated to Bangalore, and then I still continue to work in rose exports farm. Yes, that's about me, Prabhu.
Nice. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you, Prabhuji. And Kalindi Gopapriya Mataji.
Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Myself, Kalindi Gopapriya Devidasi from Bangalore, connected with ISKCON Koramangala. So I used to be a banker, and now I'm for the past 5 years I'm a homemaker. So that's it. But I take tuitions for children in the evening. So that's it. And do connected to the service.
Very
Yes,
nice.
Prabhu.
Serving the community, serving in the home, serving in the temple. Isn't this wonderful? Huh? Nice to meet you, Mataji. Thank you for sharing. Revati Raman Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Puji, Dhanavad Pranam Puji. Puji, my name is Revati Raman Tripadas. I'm from Delhi, Dwarka Temple. I'm currently doing my bachelor's in physiotherapy. I'm in 4th year. I love to serve in Kirtan Seva. I play Mridanga and do Kirtan. That's all I
Very
do
nice.
in Seva.
Thank you very much. Haribol Prabhu. Nice to
Hare
meet you. Mansi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. I'm Mansi. I am from Bangalore. I'm also connected to the ISKCON Koramangala Center here. A chartered accountant by qualification, but I'm not working in the corporate world right now, serving at the ISKCON Center and at home.
Nice. Thank you very much. I put my thumbs up there because I'm also an accountant.
Very good.
That's what I do I have 2 jobs. I teach English and I teach, well, I teach English and I teach business and finance, but I'm also, I have my own small practice in London. So
Very good.
kindred spirits in that way. Nice to meet you, Mataji. Sarvavandya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. I'm also connected to Koramangala, Bangalore. So I'm a homemaker actually.
Nice to meet you, Mataji. Thank you. And
Hare Krishna.
thank you. It's nice to see you in the Bhakti Sastri. Hare Krishna. Shiromani Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I live in Sridham, Mayapur. I have 2 sons aged 12 and 6. So I'm a full-time mom.
Lovely. But what a lovely place to be, Sri Mayapur Dham. I lived there between 2017 and 2022. And stayed just around the corner from Mayapur Institute, where I was doing my service at the time. So I'm very sad to be here back in the UK, to be honest. I came back to Mayapur this year in March. I was there for the whole of March and I really didn't want to come home here again. But unfortunately, even though I'm Gujarati and Indian by birth, the Indian government doesn't see it that way. I was born to Indian Gujarati parents in Africa. So I don't get an Indian passport and I'm not entitled to an OCI, which is really very upsetting since I spend most of my time serving and contributing to the economy of India. And I pay taxes in India, by the way. I have a PAN card as well. Because I have clients in India, I also pay taxes in India, but they won't give me an OCI card. So if anybody can help, please look me up. Then I can come and stay in the place that I really want to stay in, which is Sri Mayapur Dham. Anyway, thank you for sharing. Karuna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Krishna
I am
Mataji.
Karuna Devidasi. My humble obeisance to Lord's foot Dhanavad Pranam. Haribol. I am from Toronto, Canada. I serve at ISKCON Scarborough, ISKCON Temple. I am secondly initiated with my Guru Maharaj, late Mr. I can say Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I'm retired now, and I'm doing my Bhakti Sastri course. With your grace and helpful with Lord Krishna's your blessings, then I can go through all these instructions that's going through with me right now. So
thank you for sharing, Mataji. I'm very grateful to you.
you're welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Just on a note there that I hear the pain in your voice when you mention your Guru Maharaj's name there. I was quite close to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami because I served as the trust manager for the Mayapur Vrindavan Trust, which is Srila Prabhupada's Dakshina Fund, for a couple of years. And Maharaj was one of our trustees. So I had a lot of interaction with him. I managed that fund, which manages Srila Prabhupada's Dakshina Fund when he left his body, which is obviously, you might know it as MVT in Vrindavan. That's what it is. So I managed the whole of the project globally, and Gopal Krishna Goswami was basically my boss and kept me in line in my service. And he was a wonderful man to work with, very fair, very reasoned, and very encouraging. So welcome to the Bhakti Sastri. And I hope that, you know, through this course, it will provide you with what you need, you know, going forward, wherever you are. Who is next? Thank you, Mataji. Karma Sikhin, Prabhu. You're muted. I can't hear you. I tell you what, while you sort out your sound, let me see who hasn't spoken yet. Sri Rangapuri Prabhu. We haven't heard from you, have we?
Dandavat
Dandavat pranams.
Actually, I'm from Islamic Kolkata, now serving as a graphic designer in Kolkata, as well as I'm a master in animation.
Okay. Your voice is not very clear for some reason. I don't know if anybody else could hear that properly, but there wasn't any clarity there, so we can't actually hear what you're saying. We can hear you, but it's not clear. So just have a think about, maybe put a note in the chat. I'm going to share the chat window. And then you can put a note in the chat and introduce yourself in writing there, because we couldn't hear you properly. That just save us some time if you don't mind, Prabhu. Thank you. Anybody else? Karma Prabhu, have you sorted out your sound yet? Okay, maybe not. Okay, so let's do this then. Let's move on and begin our introduction, our analysis or study, if you like, of the introduction that Srila Prabhupada has provided us in his translation of the Sri Isopanisad. Before we do, we'll just begin with the Mangala Charan prayers. Please keep your mics on mute and join in the background. So, you know, please, it's a most auspicious prayer. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. And we will start the summary. And we have an introduction there from Sri Rangapuri Prabhu. So he's from Calcutta, connected to ISKCON Calcutta. He's done his bachelor's degree in commerce, and he's now doing his master's in animation and VFX. I don't know exactly what VFX is, but I'm presuming it's something to do with special effects and animations and things. And he also serves as as the graphic designer in his local temple. So welcome and thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, let's begin with, has everybody read the introduction, by the way, to Isopanisad? Anybody not? Okay, good. So I'm going to begin then, before we start talking about it, with a couple of questions I'd like to share with you. Okay, so I guess in answer to this question, to which group of texts in the Vedic canon does the Sri Isopanisad belong to? The next one is, which of the 4 Vedas is Sri Isopanisad a part of? What type of Vedic knowledge is Sri Isopanisad, and why is that type of knowledge particularly important? Anybody have any ideas as to any of these questions and how you might answer them? Any thoughts? Sorry about that. Any ideas, anyone? Put your hands up if you have any. Yes, Shiromani Mataji.
Isopanisad belongs to the Smriti. I think that's for the 3rd question.
What type of knowledge? Yes, that's right. It's this. It's a Smriti. No, it's not a Smriti. It's not a Smriti.
Oh, sorry, Shruti.
The other one. It's a Shruti.
Shruti.
Exactly. Yes.
Shruti.
Yeah, you got me confused there for a minute. It's a Shruti. Exactly, not a Smriti. So that's the correct question. Yes, correct answer. Kalindi Mataji. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, is that I'm not sure, is that it's Rig Veda from this the Isopanisad?
Which is question 2 you're talking about?
Question, the
No, it's
four Vedas. Which second one? Which of the 4 Vedas is Isopanisad?
it's not that, it's not the Rig Veda, but good try. Anybody else? Any other questions there that you have the answer? So far we've got that the Isopanisad is Shruti, so we know that much. Okay. So let me then enlighten you, so we don't waste any time. These are interesting questions, these. Now, I just have to sort out my screen because I have some problems with this thing. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So, what does anybody understand what a Vedic canon is? What does the word canon mean? Any ideas? No. So, okay, canon is a group of theological or philosophical literatures. So the Catholic Church has its canon, Islam has its canon of religious texts and instruction, and so do we. The Isopanisad is part of the Upanishads. That's the part of the Vedic canon that it belongs to. There are 108 Upanishads. And the second question, which is which of the 4 Vedas is Sri Isopanisad a part of? Well, it's actually part of a scripture called Shukla Yajurveda. Yaj actually means worship. Veda, as we know, means knowledge. And this scripture, the Shukla Yajurveda and the Isopanisad, can be found in a Samhita called the Vajrasaneya Samhita. It is also called the Vajrasaneya Samhitopanishad. Just so that we have some information about it. We're going to go into a little bit more about that later. And as somebody said, the Isopanisad is part of the Shruti mantras of the Vedas. And why is that important? Why is Shruti mantras important? Anybody, any idea? What's the significance of the Shruti mantras of the Veda? What does Shruti mean? Any thoughts? Yeah, Arya Govinda Prabhu.
That is the way of knowledge. All the Vedas can be received by Shruti, because that is the authorized way of receiving the knowledge. While this is a descending way of knowledge, while the other type of knowledge is the research type of knowledge, which is imaginary, which can be very tedious.
Yeah, it's not imaginary, but it needs a lot more instruction. But yes, you're on the right lines there. There's a descending way of learning and an ascending way of learning. We're going to come to that bit later on. But you're right. Insofar as the Shruti mantras are heard and learnt through oral reception, through hearing and chanting. And in the old days, back in the days before we had everything written down, of course, the Brahmanas would sit in the temples and learn these mantras together. And this is how they learnt the Vedas, by repetitive chanting. I used to be a Catholic monk in the Catholic Church. I spent 10 years in black robes and chanting in Latin from the age of 19 to 29. And one of our practices there is something called Lectio Divina, which is Latin for the practice of the sacred chanting of mantras, or texts from the Bible in our case. And they used to learn in the same way, believe it or not. So there's lots of similarities. Again, we're going to come to all this later on. So in the old days, the Vedas were learnt from authoritative sources through this oral reception of hearing and repetition and chanting. And that's why they're called the Shruti scriptures. Srila Prabhupada, in his introduction, describes the Shruti as a mother. Because if you want to take, he says, if you want to know who your father is, well, you ask an authority who is your mother, and your mother will tell you who your father is. Yes, you approach an authority. The Shrutis are like that authority. Yeah. And another interesting thing about the Shruti mantras, of course, is that our acharyas, they reveal to us that the Shruti mantras are spoken by the Lord originally. And that's why they remain unchanged through time. They are basically revealed an absolute truth, which has been passed down to us through parampara, through the disciplic succession. Yeah? Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions? No. Okay, good. So in his introduction to the Sri Isopanisad, and that introduction that you've read was actually a lecture given in London's Conway Hall on the 6th of October 1969. Conway Hall is about 10 miles from my house, and I can get there by car in 25 minutes. I've been there many times. But Srila, in that hall in 1969, when he was giving that lecture, Srila Prabhupada began by asking the question, what are the Vedas? Well, we know that Veda means knowledge. And we also know, from obviously all the reading that we've done of Srila Prabhupada's books, that the Vedas are the original knowledge. Vedic knowledge is vast, really, really vast. And we're just going to study, right, one tiny, but actually very significant part of the Vedas. And it's very significant because this particular part of the Vedas, the Sri Isopanishad, talks about everything we actually need to know in order to progress. The rest expands on it, but the basics are all here. Everything we need is just here, encapsulated in these 18 wonderful and very beautiful texts. To put this into some context, and so that we can understand where the Sri Isopanishad, I guess, sits in the Vedas, I want to take a brief look at Vedic knowledge, not very long, as it's passed down through the ages to Parampara. And actually then in context, where does the Sri Isopanishad sit in the body of the Vedas? So that you have some broad, understanding of the Vedas. Now, there are actually, we just talked about Shruti as being one way of understanding the scriptures. There are, of course, also other ways of understanding the scriptures, and they are also encapsulated. All these things are also, by the way, encapsulated in the body of the Vedas. And what are these things that I'm talking about? You might want to take a screenshot of this because it's quite a useful diagram for you to know, to see. There are three kinds of what we call Prasthanatraya, which is sources of spiritual knowledge. So we have Shruti Prasthana, which we've just talked about, scriptures that do not have an author, but I learnt by hearing. And those kind of scriptures are basically the big Vedas, the four big Vedas and the Upanishads. Then we have the other thing that somebody mentioned earlier, which is the Smriti Prasthana, which are scriptures that are written in accordance with Shruti, the Vedas, like the Puranas and the Mahabharata. So the philosophy is taken from the Vedas, the most important things, and the story is written around those things. And then you have the Nyaya Prasthana, or scriptures that present logic. And this whole body of works basically, is called the Vedanta Sutra, really, collectively. And you can see there, as we've got on the slide there, Vyasadeva, he brought all these things together. He brought the statements of the Upanishads and the Smriti and everything else, and he combined all this, of course, into what we call the Vedanta Sutras. So that's what we have there. Now, so you've got Shruti, Smriti, and Nyaya. So how does that all work in Vedic knowledge? Why is that important for us to understand? So here we have a diagram, I guess, which is how we have learnt to understand basically Vedic knowledge in our parampara. So we have two sides to this, really. We have the Shruti side of the Vedas, which is all of this side. The Shruti side refers to revealed absolute truth. Everything is spoken by the Lord, and the words are not changed through time. The Shruti includes Vedas, the Rig, the Yajur, the Samaveda, Atharva Veda. Then we have the Upavedas, which deals with things like Ayurveda, etc. And you can see all of this, all of this is going on. Then we have things on this side which deal with astronomy, meters, etymology, grammar, pronunciation, rituals, how to do things. It's all written down in minute detail. And then on this side of the Shruti equation, we have the Vedas side. So you have the practical stuff going on this side. And then you have the philosophical and the deep internal spiritual stuff that we need to know about to connect with the material world happening on this side. And so you've got the Vedas there, you've got the Samhitas, you've got the Brahmanas, which ritual explanation of the mantras. And then at the bottom here, you've got the Upanishads, which includes the Sri Isopanishad. So all of this is instruction passed down through time. None of this was originally, none of this was originally written down anywhere. My slides are going a bit crazy here. Excuse me. Don't know what happened. Okay. And then on this side, we have the Smriti side of the Vedas, which are the writings composed by the sages. And of course, as we all know, things get edited over time, don't they? We know it happens. It's happened in our organization. It's happened throughout time. And Srila Prabhupada himself, when he was out in the West and he introduced his Bhagavad Gita as it is, he made a point of saying there are many, many, many editions of the Bhagavad Gita out there, but mine has not been changed. It is as it is. And I have seen there are alterations in many, many things that people have changed according to the way they interpret or the way they've been taught, or maybe even the way they feel or the way they've understood it themselves. And this brings us on, of course, to lots of other things. But before we go there, I guess you've got these two schools of thought going on here. You've got the Shruti side and the Smriti side. And then you see at the bottom of the Smriti side, you've got these 6 boxes. Now, these boxes are down here, are quite important. Originally, they were really 6 schools of thought, okay, which presented Vedic knowledge in these different ways. These 6 schools of thought are called darshanas. That's what they're called. And these 6 schools of thought do accept the authority of the Vedas. And some of these schools of thought are sometimes referred to as the Astika schools of thought. Astika refers to those groups of people who not only accept the authority of the Vedas, but who also have faith in God. Yeah. Of these 6, the one that's most important, I guess, for us to know about is Vedanta, at the bottom there. Vedanta, what does Vedanta mean? What does it refer to? When we use the word Vedanta, what does it refer to? Does anybody know? Any ideas? Yeah, Arya Govinda Prabhu, please. You're muted. We can't hear you, Prabhuji.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Ultimate end of all knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So the Vedas, Vedanta actually refers to the theology of the Upanishads, and the Upanishads are actually the conclusion of the Vedas. They're quite often referred to, and actually, our Vaishnavacharyas refer to the Upanishads as the crown jewels of Vedanta, because everything is in there. Yeah. And the other 5 schools of thought that you see there, so you've got Vedanta at the bottom, which is the first one. Then you've got, I have to look on another screen here, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Yoga, and Sankhya philosophies. Yeah, all these other schools of thought interpret Vedic philosophy to their own ends in that specific school of thought. Yeah, which means that they're only reaching a conclusion that they're drawing on based on their own interpretation, not on the final conclusion of the Vedas, which is the theology of the Upanishads. And that's important. Another thing to note about Vedanta, and this is very important for us, because I was saying to you, we needed to understand where the Isopanishad sits in this, but also how it relates to us in today's ISKCON. Okay, how it's connected. All right, we know it's Vedic literature spoken by the Lord, but why is it so significant for us? Or why are the Upanishads so significant to us? There's an answer to that. So Vedanta encompasses 2 important things. One is called Advaita, and another is called Dvaita. What does Advaita mean? And what does Dvaita mean?
Dvaita means dual, and then Advaita means non-dual.
Okay. That's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Let me just stop sharing the screen so I can see everybody properly. Yeah, so we've got also somebody, Karma Prabhu has put oneness and duality in the chat there. Yes. And I see, Prabhu, you put some other notes in the chat, which I didn't see, so I apologize for that. But yeah, it's a good thing if you can't speak properly on the mic, then just put a note in the thing so we know that you're contributing. That'd be nice. So yes, duality and oneness. But what does that actually mean, Prabhu? Dualism and non-dualism. What does it actually mean? If you say that out there, people are going to get all confused. Let's ask, and before I go there, let's ask Rangavali Mataji, because she just put her hand up there. Go on, Mataji.
So duality means it's Atma and Paramatma. They both are separate. And the other one is they both are same. The philosophy which says that both are same. And the other philosophy is Atma is different, Paramatma is different.
So
that is my understanding.
Advaita philosophy is non-dualism and Dvaita philosophy is dualism. You're on the right track. You're on the right lines. You are kind of there. Let's just go to Prabhu there. Arya Govinda, were you going to add, can you add something to that?
Advaita also means Krishna is also called as Advaita. That means there's none other than Krishna is alone the supreme. No one else can be there. So
yeah,
Advaita.
Yeah, that's also very true. So Mataji was talking about the spirit soul aspect, really, and that's the unique aspect of the individuality of the spirit soul. So yes, you're on the right lines. Yes, and yeah, exactly. Atma and Paramatma has a sense of oneness, as Prabhu says on the bottom there. So we don't follow the Advaita philosophy, do we? We don't follow Advaita philosophy because it is the impersonalist philosophy of Shankaracharya. We are followers of what? What is our sampradaya? What sampradaya do we belong to? Yeah, Rangavali Mataji.
Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya.
Yes, exactly. So Karma Sikkim, we're coming on to what you just said there about Achintya Beda Beda. You're heading that way, but you're right. We are actually members of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Madhva here refers to one of Dvaita philosophy's greatest proponents, Srila Madhvacharya. And of course, our Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was initiated in the lineage, in the sampradaya of Srila Madhvacharya. Interestingly, the Madhvacharyas do not accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna. They only accept him as a saint. Interesting that, isn't it? We're part of a bigger sampradaya that doesn't accept Krishna as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we'll come to that later on as well. And we may be lucky enough to hear from a monk from the Udupi Krishna Mutt, which was the seat, the base of Srila Madhvacharya. Somebody I teach with quite a lot, and we have sometimes a debate about these things. But he may join us to explain why they don't. And he will also hear our reasons for why we do. He's a very nice man. And he's also quite close to my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami. So he may come and join us at some point. Not sure yet. Let's see if we can get both of them on. So it'd be nice to hear from them, maybe for a few minutes. Yes. So Madhvacharya is really the greatest proponent of this Dvaita philosophy of ours. And here's where it gets really, really interesting, right? Because despite the fact that the Madhvacharyas do not accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are still members of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. And where it gets really, really interesting is that you've got Vedic philosophy sitting there until the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when everybody's learning stuff, but everybody's actually getting quite confused. And we're going to talk a lot about this in detail later on. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this planet, he basically brought these two forces of Advaita and Dvaita and he connected it. He's like the linking force, if you like, between it. And I see that Karma Sikkim Prabhu, you mentioned in the chat there, Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. And that's exactly what happens. Oh, sorry, I've lost my slide here. That's exactly what happens when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to this planet. He formulated the principle of Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. And so by doing, he cleared up an old paradox. That of oneness and difference at the same time. He clarified it. He clarified something that was already accepted by many spiritual teachers, but not written or spoken about so often. And he taught us that oneness and difference are actually verifiably inseparable. They always exist at the same time, i.e. simultaneously, and their simultaneous existence lies at the core of our creation, in fact, at the heart of all metaphysics. And physicists will tell you this. He taught us, Mahaprabhu taught us, that the Sanskrit word achintya, which means inconceivable, refers actually to the simultaneous existence of oneness and manyness. When we use the word inconceivable, it acknowledges that there's an aspect of reality which is incomprehensible to the human mind. Right? It goes beyond. It goes beyond everything. It goes beyond and defies all logic. At least insofar as our human mind and senses are able to rationalize or experience it. Beda Beda means simultaneous oneness and manyness. Tattva means principle or truth, okay? So when you take these words, achintya beda beda tattva, it refers to the truth of oneness and difference at the same time as revealed to us by Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. And guess what? Only 500 years ago. Now, isn't that amazing? Huh? Shushmita Mataji, please, can you turn your mic off? We have some background noise. Thank you. We can also prove this truth, this tattva of simultaneous oneness and difference at the same time, right? We can actually prove this through physical evidence. How? Okay, let's take a rose. What can you see in a rose? What is a rose comprised of? When you look at a rose, you pick a rose off a plant and you hold it. What are you holding? What does it look like to you? You got a flower there, but what's its composition?
Matter.
Matter, yeah. Matter is one thing. And when you look at that matter, what do you see?
It has petals.
Petals.
And it has color, fragrance.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got one rose, simultaneous oneness and manyness is going on, no? It's only one flower, but within that one flower, you have so many different characteristics which are unique to that one flower. Only that one flower will be the same. Yet you have many, many, many flowers and roses all around the world, and they're all different. They're all unique. They're all called a flower. They're all one flower. Really, all coming from the same seed, just as we are. Krishna says, I am the seed-giving father. So we're all coming from the same seed, but we're all very different and very unique. There's many of us. So that simultaneous oneness and manyness, we can actually prove it. And Mataji made a wonderful, beautiful point there. That flower has many petals and scent and shape and size. Even the petals are going to be of various different shades of color. The scent will be unique and different in each flower. Even how you offer that one flower to your deities will be different to how I offer that one flower. But we both have our own sweetness to try and offer to the Lord, no? There is the beauty of our oneness and difference from that same one seed. So Mahaprabhu, our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually explained to us the relationship between God and his creation through this principle of Achintya Bheda Tattva. And he also used this principle to explain the difference between God and the living entities. So we have God and his creation. We have God, which is the material world, if you like. Then we have God and the living entities. And it also explains that our relationship with the Lord is also one relationship. We're all one spirit. We're all part of the same, all parts and parcels of Krishna. We all want to give him the same love and the same respect and the same worship and the same devotion, but we all give it in a different way because it's unique. Can you imagine if we were all doing the same thing in the same way with the same mood, how boring it would be for Krishna? It would be like having a bunch of AI robots coming to do his worship. This is the beauty of what we've been given. And we're going to talk more about this, and the Isopanisad is full of beautiful language that is going to dazzle you about this creation. I hope that we can pick up on this mood in that class as we go through it. So Achintya Bheda Tattva explains to us that we're one with God in a qualitative sense, but quantitatively we're very different. And you've heard Srila Prabhupada explain this, of course, in his purports in the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, and other places. Achintya Bheda Tattva also explains to us the identity of the Lord insofar as we can ascertain the Lord as a person. And when you think about this, this is another part of his unique brilliance and beauty. He can be impersonal. He can be impersonal, Brahman, if you're an impersonalist. He can also have a personal relationship with you. And he can also ignore you. Why would he ignore you? Why would Krishna ignore you? Any ideas? Why would Krishna ignore you?
Because we are using our independence not intelligently.
He might do that, but I don't think he does that because he knows that we're a little bit feeble, right? And these rascals, they're going to use this independence not very wisely. But let them do. Because how will they learn? Just like a father teaches his children, no? You have a soft spot for your kids, so you let them do naughty things sometimes. They push the boundaries. That's what Krishna's doing for us. He's given us free will. We say Krishna is the controller. He is the controller of this material planet. But what goes on inside the material planet, he doesn't control. That's our responsibility. We have been given a choice. We've been given free will as to how we conduct ourselves on this planet. We're going to come to this in some great detail. So I'm not going to go on with that conversation yet, but wait for this because it's really interesting. But Krishna, what was my question again, Prabhu? Just remind me. Ari Prabhu, what was my question?
Why does Krishna ignore us?
Why would Krishna ignore us? Exactly. Why do you think he would ignore us? Because we ignore him. If you don't want to know him, he leaves you alone. Now we can demonstrate the free will is really there because you have in this world atheists who don't believe in God. They will never believe in God, at least not in that particular body. You have people from different religions who believe in God with a different name. We're going to come to that subject as well later. And you have those people who just believe that God is a ball of energy or light. But he makes himself available in all these different ways. Doesn't matter that you don't believe in him. He's still providing the food out there. Even if you believe in him, he will provide you food. And even if you believe in him just as the impersonal Brahman, he will still feed you. So there's another question that's going to come up in the Isopanisad, which is about responsibility and duty. Lots of things to talk about. Anyway, what I really was talking about there was that there's so many different things going on, you know, within Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was bringing this Achintya Beda Beda Tattva philosophy down to us. You know, that we can really, really appreciate the beauty and the vastness and the wonder, not only of the texts of the Vedas, but of what it's teaching us about the resources that we've been so mercifully provided with. So that's a little bit just to get us going on, you know, why this book is so important, the Sri Isopanisad. Now, in the Isopanisad, of course, in his introduction, Prabhupada makes a very big point about Guru. One must approach a bona fide guru who has rightly heard the Vedic message from the correct sources, who is firmly established in Brahman. Now, what do I say when I say someone who's firmly established in Brahman? What does that mean? Does that mean I'm talking to them as an impersonalist? What does the word Brahman mean?
Paramatma?
Spirit soul, really, yes. To understand that we are spirit soul living in this body. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are not. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. That is what we are doing. That's important to note. So Mahaprabhu brings all this together. And Prabhupada directs us that whilst we have all this Vedic literature that we've just been talking about, dry philosophical speculation is not always very easy to learn. It's not a very easy way to learn. We need direction. We go to school, we get a teacher, don't we? The word guru, of course, is a big word. It means teacher, it means master, it also means heavy. Heavy with responsibility. Yeah, heavy with knowledge. So many things it can mean. So, you know, Srila Prabhupada directs us that we need to, you know, take this spiritual knowledge, but we need somebody to help us. In order to learn anything from the Vedas, one has to take instruction from a qualified source. Vedic literature, we've already established, is part of the Shruti mantras. Shruti being revealed absolute truth received directly by the Lord, or given to us directly by the Lord. Therefore, the Vedas are one qualified source. We need another qualified source to help us learn them, and that's Guru. We can pick up a book, but we need some direction. And why do we need some direction? What is it about our human condition that makes us need direction? What does Srila Prabhupada tell us about the human condition, and why is that important? Let's go to, I'm going to pick on somebody now and see what we get. How about, let's go to Mansi Mataji. What do you think? What does Srila Prabhupada tell us?
Yes, Prabhupada, I think Prabhupada is talking about the 4 defects that we have, we have a tendency to make mistakes, we are illusioned, our senses are imperfect, and we have a tendency to cheat.
Yeah.
So with our current senses, we cannot understand the supreme truth because of these defects.
Exactly. Yeah. We have these 4 defects. And yeah, Karmasikin Prabhu, you said in the chat box there, senses is just one of them. So we make mistakes. We are illusioned. Yeah. And we cheat. And our senses are imperfect. Srila Prabhupada uses a very famous phrase in his introduction. He uses the phrase, to err is human. It comes from a very famous quote by an essay on criticism by a famous philosopher called Alexander Pope. To err is human, to forgive divine. All people commit sins and make mistakes. God forgives them. And people act in a godlike or divine way when they forgive others. That's the full quote. And Prabhupada took the first part of that to err his human, just to point out the fact that we do make mistakes as human beings. But we can also be godlike if we forgive. Compassion and kindness, yeah? Already he's talking about the qualities we need to develop as a Vaishnava in order to be able to understand and digest this knowledge. He's hinting to us there. Yeah. Let's take a look at our senses. I mean, he talks in his introduction, he gives us the example of Mahatma Gandhi, President Kennedy, all these big people who made mistakes. So we see that. Let's look at imperfect senses. We're conditioned by these senses, aren't we? In fact, our senses are so imperfect, right, that anything that works in this world, right, that we can see that works in this world has only been observed from our point of view of this world. It's the only experience that we can go on. I might see something out there and say Revati Raman Prabhu might see the same thing, but I might understand it in one way, he might understand it in another because of his conditioning, and I might see it in another because of my conditioning. Doesn't make either of us wrong, but we might need some guidance to actually understand what we're saying or seeing. Yes? And that's Srila Prabhupada's point here. We have to be careful about not just accepting things exactly as we see them just because that's the way we think it should be. Let me give you an example. Gravity. Let's talk about gravity. Yeah? You all know what gravity is. It's that force. Boom. Let's talk about Isaac Newton. This is an interesting one. So the world, it tells us Isaac Newton discovered gravity. Did he? Really? He didn't really did he? He didn't discover it, but what he did do was he observed something that we could all see, only he could see a bit deeper. Yeah? He actually questioned what he was seeing. So asking questions is a good thing. That's why we approach our gurus to ask questions. So what he saw in the natural world, he questioned himself. There's a story you've heard. You must have heard of the apple falling from the tree. Yes? So the apple, this apple, it falls from a tree and it hits the ground. Boom. And everybody says he discovered gravity. But actually, when you think about it, his mother also saw apples falling from a tree. Boom. His friends before him saw the apple fall from a tree. And we've also seen it. He just thought about it differently. He thought, hang on a minute, why does it fall like that? So the world chooses to say he discovered gravity. But in actuality, he didn't create the tree, the apple, or the ground. Nor did he create that force that compelled the apple to fall from the tree, the gravity. It was already there. We also know from the Vedas that the principle of gravity is actually described long before Isaac Newton, or even any of us existed, because it's there in the Vedas. It's part of our natural phenomenon. Huh? It's very interesting for us. And he recognized his talent, and he thought, okay, let me put this into perspective and actually figure out why this happens. But therein, we have an example of our imperfect senses. Yeah. He saw something. We saw him, or we saw somebody write about him seeing something, and we attribute that discovery to him. He created gravity. He didn't create gravity. He didn't even discover it. It was already there. Many people have discovered it before him because it's already in the Vedas. Many people have already written about it. Only he decided to make a big thing about it so other people could understand what he was seeing. And it actually then helped us to develop lots of things that we have out there, like aeroplanes and stuff. Yeah? This is all part of Krishna's big plan. It's already there, and he's waiting for us to discover the jewels, the wonderful things that he's put out there for us to go and see. Look at medical science. We have people who can open you up and replace parts of your body and keep you alive. Now, if Krishna didn't want this, he wouldn't allow it to happen, would he? But he wants us to go out there and discover all this for ourselves. It's like a big playground. See, when you think about a doctor, what an amazing job. You're saving people's lives and you're working really long hours. And sometimes we go to the hospital and we have to wait 2 hours and we shout at the doctor. There's so many things we should be thinking about. But this is all part of Krishna's plan here. And everything is already there, neatly boxed up. We just got to unlock these little boxes and find the little presents he's put there. It's like a treasure hunt. Different talents that we can accumulate, different things that we can learn from each other, different ways that we can communicate. Anyway, all this is a bit off the introduction, but you get the point. So the point is, if gravity is already described in the Vedas, then the Vedas are not faulty. The knowledge imparted to us, therefore, in Bhagavatam, in the Isopanisad, in the Bhagavad Gita, is also not faulty. It's perfect. And it all came a long, long, long time before Isaac Newton. That's not, by the way, to damp down or put down Isaac Newton for the work that he did, because the work that he did has helped us develop things that will help us in this world. Not all of it, because there are good and bad sides to everything. For instance, you've got aeroplanes, you've got pollution. But you can also get around. So benefits, there's pros and cons to everything. It's a balancing act. Even our law of action and reaction, yeah? We call it the law of karma in our scriptures. In the Western world, you know, when you do something bad, when you do something wrong, and then something bad happens to you in return, people say, there you go, what goes around comes around. Yes, it's already there. You do something good, even better things happen. There is a natural law in this universe, and it's working without Krishna's interference. And no matter what we try and do to turn it around, it will balance itself out. If we try and cheat it today, it will get us in the next life. Hence, our reactions can come and go at different times, because we're always trying to control what happens, but we can't. The natural order of things will always be restored. And that's all there, isn't it, in this introduction, really. We have to believe in the instructions given to us through parampara, through disciplic succession. Our gurus and our acharyas have been empowered to impart this knowledge to us. And Krishna confirms, doesn't he, in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 15, verse 15, Vedanta krit veda vedeva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So much is going on, you know, in terms of our imperfect senses. So we have to take instruction from our acharyas and from Guru. Yes? Somebody's trying to get into the room here, I think. Yeah, you go. So we can see that. Now, why is it that we need to, well, we've established that our imperfect senses and all these other things, our faults, our four human faults of human condition, you know, make it necessary for us to take instruction. There's also another reason why we might want to take instruction in the Vedas. And why is that? Srila Prabhupada describes the Vedas as, he uses the word axiomatic truth in the introduction. What does axiomatic mean? Any ideas what axiomatic means? It means self-evident, yeah, unquestionable. And the Vedas are one such truth, axiomatic, they're unquestionable. But if they're so unquestionable, why do we need to take instruction? Why would we get, if they're so direct and so unquestionable and self-evident, why do we need this instruction? All right, we have some faults. But if we're reading something off a page and it's unquestionable, then surely we shouldn't need any instruction, should we? But we do. Because the Vedas are full of contradictions. Sounds weird, doesn't it? But they are. And Srila Prabhupada gives us one such example, of course, in his introduction. I can tell you lots more, and I'm going to come to some of those in other parts of this class, which will baffle you, but will help you to understand. One of those things he mentions is cow dung. Here in the Western world, in England, if I'm sitting in my house and say somebody from next door comes to visit, and I start purifying my altar area with cow dung and cow urine, what are they going to say? What are they going to say to me? They're going to look at me and they're going to go, "Ugh, you dirty person." Yes, aren't they? Because they don't understand. But we can understand, actually, that this cow dung is completely pure. In fact, we even know we have a scientific basis upon which we can demonstrate this and prove it. Even cow urine. Now, I have something called pulmonary fibrosis and rheumatoid arthritis and spinal disc disease on many levels, which means I have difficulty with walking and all sorts of things, and I can't breathe quite often. Pulmonary fibrosis is a lung disease, so my lungs are slowly dying. And it's very painful, very, very painful. Now, I use cow urine when I'm very sick to help get rid of infections rather than antibiotics, because it works better. Why does it work better? Because it's purely antiseptic. We refer to the cow as a mother, but not just for her milk. So many things she provides. When she leaves her body, we take her hide to make mridanga. No? When she's alive, we use her urine, her stool for making, for antiseptic use. We use her stool for energy, to burn for energy. And we have her milk for nutrition. And when people say to me, why do you drink cow's milk if you're a vegetarian? I said, well, my mother used to give me milk when I was a child. Every baby in any tiny, any tiny creature of any species needs milk. Milk of human kindness, it's often referred to, isn't it? So you can see that the Vedas might be full of, all these contradictions, but eventually presents us with the jewels of knowledge that we need in order to understand this vast library of knowledge. And we don't need to read all of it. We only need to read those bits which our acharyas have, directed us to read, because we'll understand them, and there are commentaries on those parts of the Vedas that will help us to progress in spiritual life. So that was another thing that Srila Prabhupada says, why we need instruction. So how do we receive this knowledge then of the Vedas, if it's so vast? Another thing he mentions. So let's have a look at this, perhaps. Yeah, somebody put their hand up. Karuna Mataji, yes. You're muted, we can't hear you.
Vedas are compilation from human knowledge. Vedic knowledge comes from spiritual world, from
Yes.
Lord Krishna.
Yes, so the Vedic knowledge, it comes from Lord Krishna directly. So how do we get this knowledge? How do we receive this? knowledge of the Vedas. Huh? So there are three I guess three different ways that we can look at this. One is through, the guru. So we get two types of knowledge. We get inductive knowledge and deductive knowledge, right? And within that, we collect evidence, which is pramana. Yeah, we collect evidence through scripture, through anecdote, through example. And we also get it from guru. So two systems, really, and you mentioned this earlier, Arya Govinda Prabhu, you mentioned the two systems of knowledge, the ascending process and the descending process, didn't you? So you have Aroha Pantha, which is inductive, or the ascending process, which is knowledge sought through our imperfect senses. And we do this through research and experiments, don't we? Scientists do it, don't they? To find out, will something work or will it not work? But we can only do this because we know that we're not perfect and we have to find a solution to something. So we do this through, researching, experimenting, even reading and talking. And there's an example, studying every man to find out whether he is mortal or not. Prabhupada gives that example, doesn't he, in the introduction. And then you have Avaroha Banta, which is deductive, or the descending process, which is knowledge acquired by hearing from a bona fide source or the Supreme Lord. In other words, the experimenting here that we're looking at here to find out whether a man is mortal or not, it's already been done. We don't need to do it because we know that we're all going to die or these bodies are going to go. And if we do find one that is immortal, who are we going to find? Only Krishna. So we can accept the authority of the Vedas and we can accept the knowledge and instruction that is coming down through parampara. So these are the, I guess, two ways, two systems of acquiring knowledge. Is there anything else there that Srila Prabhupada says about the Vedas that you want to cover in that introduction? I think you all understand the importance of what he's saying, in this introduction. So then what is so that we can move on, we might even get to start the invocation today, perhaps. What is the Isopanisad about? Actually, before we go there, we just talked about these different ways of acquiring knowledge. I do have a question for you. I used the word a little bit ago, and I just wondered if anybody remembered. What does the word pramana mean? Yeah, Rangavali Mataji, go on.
Proof, evidence.
Yeah, truths or evidence, and this is important, and this is something I forgot to cover really. And it is important because when we are researching things and when we're kind of, going through this process, we collect evidence, don't we? We collect different types of evidence, and in the Isopanisad, Srila Prabhupada describes three kinds of evidence. What three kinds of evidence does he provide? Does he tell us about? Why are they important? Let's go to Sarvavandiya Mataji. What do you think? What kind of evidence does Srila Prabhupada talk about? You're muted. Don't forget.
I'm not sure, Prabhu, sorry.
It's all right. That's no problem. Karuna Mataji, go on. You're muted, Mataji, Karuna Mataji. You need to unmute your mic.
Yeah. It's a Prataksha. Maybe my pronunciation is not good, Prabhu. Anuman and Sabhada.
Shabda. That's right. Yeah.
Sorry
Pratyaksha.
for
That's all right. Pratyaksha pramana, Anumana pramana, and Shabda pramana. Pratyaksha pramana is direct evidence. Knowledge gathered by our senses. It's not so reliable because our senses are imperfect, aren't they? And Srila Prabhupada gives an example, I think, in his introduction. He gives the example of the sun. When we look at the sun, it appears as a small disk to us, from down here. But it's part of a, it's larger than some of the other planets even, and it's part of a group of other planets up there. Then we have another kind of evidence, which is Anuman. And Anuman pramana is knowledge which we gather by reasoning. We read books, we talk to people, we put 2 and 2 together and sometimes make 4, sometimes make 5, sometimes make goodness knows what we make. So yeah, sometimes we get it right, sometimes, we get it wrong. But all this is done through hypothesis. Theory is a word for it, really. Let's take the example that Prabhupada gives in the introduction. Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. It's still called today, Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. It's based on observation, but it's not direct evidence. We can't prove it. We can suppose and we can theorize, we can hypothesize, but we can't prove it. We can say it may be like this and it may be like that because of what we've observed, but we can't say for sure. But it's a logical explanation to most people because he's presented it in such a way that, it seems reasonable, it seems feasible even, which is why the world believes in it. But then the world believes in the Big Bang Theory. And I'm sorry, but I can't see how a group of gases can create organic life like this, that can think and speak and do. We'll come to this subject as well. And you're going to do a lot of talking on that, by the way, because you're going to do a big group thing on this, which is going to be a lot of fun, trust me. So we have that kind of evidence. Then we also have Shabda Praman. Shabda Praman is knowledge which is received by hearing from authority. And I explained earlier, one such authority, of course, are the Shruti mantras, or the Vedas. Srila Prabhupada, in his introduction, he tells us that when you want to find something out, you consult an authority. Like, you want to ask your mother, who is my father? She will tell you, you have to accept because she's your mother. Same way, if you want to know what's on the radio, you'll look at the Radio Times. We have something here in the UK, it's called the Radio Times. And it gives you a guide. It's a magazine, and it basically tells you what's on every single television and radio channel. So you don't have to look it up, and you can just know where to look. But if you want to know what's on, you look in there and you know that's what's going to be on the telly. That's an authority. The Vedas, of course, are also one such authority. The Shruti mantras of the Vedas are spoken by the Lord. That's knowledge received from authoritative sources. Shabda, spoken word. And Prabhupada makes a statement in his introduction and underlines to us the point that to know something beyond the experience of one's senses and beyond experimental research, one must accept the authority of the Vedas. This practice of Krishna consciousness, this practice of being a Vaishnava and following the rules and regulations of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and in our Parampara, means that we have said that we will accept, or we will try and accept. We'll get to a point where we can totally accept knowledge from the highest of sources. We're reading from the Shruti mantras of the Isopanisad. That means we are hearing the Lord's words directly. These are words he spoke into the ear of Brahmaji, yes? So studying this Isopanisad is a blessing for all of us. Many people don't understand the Sri Isopanisad, but it's a beautiful, beautiful scripture. And we will see how it beautifully unfolds over the next few weeks. And the fact that we are accepting these mantras from the highest of sources, the Lord himself, also means that we accept that he has handed them down. These Shruti mantras, he has handed them down through parampara to us, to Sri Guru, as a way for us to learn and accept. Not experiment, as Srila Prabhupada said. This is not a game. Guru has heard the message of the Vedas and he can impart it to us. As the prayer in the Vedas goes there. Tad Vishnu paramam padam sada pasyanti suryaha diviva chakshuratatam tad viprasho vivalpanyevo jagaravamshaha simindate vishnuriyat paramam padam. You know, just as, and that verse basically from the Vedas teaches us that, you know, just as we can see the sun in the sky, those learned and wise brahmanas who can see Krishna everywhere can teach that knowledge to us. Just as we can see that sun in the sky, they can reveal that knowledge to us. That prayer, by the way, is one prayer that we should recite every day after performing Achman. If you perform full Achman every day, if you are Brahman initiated, for example, before we do a Gayatri, we should, you know, perform a full Achman. Sit in a comfortable place facing east if it's appropriate time to chant our Gayatri. And after chanting Achman, we should chant this verse, which reminds us that these wise and learned Brahmanas can see Krishna everywhere, can see his kingdom, his knowledge everywhere, just as we can see the sun in the sky. And with that knowledge, they can reveal that knowledge to us. This was written thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of years ago. It's a small prayer in the Vedas, and yet today we are still reciting. So very important stuff is going on here. Vaishnavas and Vedantis, they accept Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explained to us, of course, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Of course, very important. If somebody could please read this slide out for me. Maybe Kalindi Mataji, would you like to read this slide for me, please?
The absolute truth is described in the Upanishads and Brahma Sutra, but one must understand the verses as they are. This is the supreme glory in understanding. The material defects of mistakes, illusion, cheating, and sensory inefficiency do not exist in the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The absolute truth is described in the Upanishads and Brahma Sutra, but one must understand the verses as they are. That is the supreme glory in understanding. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 7.1062-108.
That gives us an idea, you know, of how we can approach the Isopanishad and what Srila Prabhupada expects from us in this study. So one quick question then. I think we're supposed to be finishing about now, aren't we? So can we have another 10 minutes, if that's all right, just to wrap this introduction off? And that is, what is the Sri Isopanishad about? Any ideas?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Is it about Vedic knowledge?
Yeah, it's about Vedic knowledge. Anything else you can say on that? Anybody?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, is it sung by God Himself, the Vedic knowledge revealed
It
by
is.
God Himself?
Yeah, it is. These mantras were spoken by the Lord himself. Although there is one little twist in the last 4 verses, which kind of makes it a bit confusing, which is going to be quite an interesting thing to talk about as well later. But you're right. Yes, the verses are spoken by Krishna himself. What does Upanishad mean? Anybody have any idea that the word Upanishad, that might help? No? Okay. So Upa means near. Nishadati means to bring. Okay. So the Upanishad is a scripture that essentially brings one closer to God. That's one meaning. There's another meaning where Upa means near, which we know. And instead of the word nishadati, nishidati, sorry, we can have ni means certainly, shad means to loosen, to destroy, or to obtain something. And quite often the Upanishad then is described as knowledge, which can help free one from bondage, from material bondage. It can help to destroy our ignorance about our Svarupa, because we are ignorant sometimes about actually what is our Svarupa. And it can also help us then to obtain complete liberation. Srila Prabhupada, in a letter somewhere, I do believe, he described the Sri Isopanisad that is as knowledge that brings one nearer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Upanishad, Upanishads generally, if you present an Upanishad to somebody, you're presenting them with spiritual knowledge. And that spiritual knowledge is usually given by Guru to a disciple. So Srila Prabhupada has done just that. He's taken the Sri Isopanishad and quite literally he's presented us with that knowledge that brings one closer to God through Guru. And that's what he's done, as it is, as it should have been. That's the beauty of this book as well. Because it's not only presented as it is, written as it is, it's given to us in the manner that it should have been given to us through Parampara, through Guru, through his instruction, so that it will not be forgotten. And that's why his purports and commentaries in the literature that we have are so important. Yes? Knowledge that's given to us in this way by Guru to a disciple is also known as Brahma Vidya or Rahasya Vidya. We'll come to those terms later as well. The Isopanishad, that knowledge which brings one closer to the Isha, to Krishna, is part of 108 Upanishads. And there's many of them, like the Kena, the Katha, the Mundaka, the Mandukya, the Taittiriya, Chandogya, so many different Upanishads. And all our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, Madhvacharya, Srila Baladev, Vidyabhushan, have written commentaries on these Upanishads. And our classes will be referring to the commentaries of our Vaishnava acharyas, as well as, of course, Srila Prabhupada through these sessions. And the Isopanishad, just to end here, really on 2 small things here. The mantras of the Isopanishad are there to help us understand the nature of the Atma, the spirit soul. The mantras of the Isopanishad, even though they belong to the Yajur Veda, which is all about worship, The mantras of the Isopanishad are not useful for worship or upasana, but they are very useful in establishing a very close personal relationship and bond with Krishna. They can teach you how to talk to him as a friend when you're doing your worship and through the day. There's a certain magic in these mantras which I've learned so much from. So those are that's the main lessons of the Isopanishad, really, are to teach us about the nature of the Atma and how to become close to Krishna. And within that, right, Srila Prabhupada basically presents us with many lessons in the Isopanishad, right? But we are going to cover, I think, really the most important ones, and that's these 7. Yeah, we're going to learn about Ishvara. We're going to learn about the Jiva. We're going to learn about karma. We're going to learn about how to defeat impersonalism. And when we say defeat impersonalism, it's not about a boxing match or a shouting match. It's about how to explain to people why we worship Krishna in the most personal sense. We don't want to get into a conversation about why other people worship him in different ways, because that is their relationship with Krishna or whoever Krishna decides that they should call him by. Again, another thing we will come to. We will also talk about bhakti because it's introduced in the Isopanishad. We will also talk about kala. What is kala?
Death.
No.
Time.
Time. Yes, time. Yes, time. And then we'll also discuss prakriti, which is material nature, or nature as it is out there. There's many things going on in the Isopanishad, but these are really important things that come up in the Isopanishad, which form the basis of the more elaborate explanations given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and by Srila Vyasadeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's why these things are very important. And you'll be surprised there'll be stuff there that we should have known from basic stuff, and then as we get there, we'll realize we didn't, but it'd be very interesting. Anyway, this is what we're going to cover in the Sri Isopanishad. Now, just as a quick thing before we finish, have you got any questions on today's class? Okay. On Monday, we're going to be looking at the invocation, and we may even get to start text 1. Be prepared on Monday to be divided into groups to be able to discuss some of this and discuss in the class. I want you to be part of this class. I don't want to do all the talking, because if I do all the talking, you're going to get bored and fall asleep. And it won't help me to preach better. So it's better if you do as much talking in the next few sessions as I do, because I want this to be your experience. I do this, I don't know, I teach this subject maybe 4 or 5 times a month, this Isopanishad. My master's degree is in philosophy and theology, and my master's dissertation was on the Sri Isopanishad. Okay, so I want you to be able to, talk to me, talk to each other. Let's kind of find these jewels that are planted, that are hidden in the Isopanishad, and help us to uncover that depth of spirituality that, we can experience from Srila Prabhupada's wonderful work. So be prepared for that. Another thing I was going to mention was, if you're learning shlokas and you need some help, you can contact me and we can form a little shloka learning group, that will help you with your studies. While you're doing your essays, if you want some help with writing your essays and with, submitting them, what have you, if you want somebody to review them, or you can't think it through, you're having problems with it, give me a WhatsApp message. You've got the number in the group, and we can do either a one-to-one on WhatsApp or Zoom, or we can do, with a few others as you wish. But I want you to enjoy this course, and I want you to be able to feel that you do have support. I know that the other teachers are very, very busy. I work from home, I work from myself, and I can work the hours I choose. So I can be flexible on time. So the only thing is there's a 4.5 hour difference in time. So if you call me at your 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll be sleeping. So just make sure it's in a sensible time. You are 5.5 hours ahead of me, 4.5 hours ahead. So right now, I think in India, it must be what, about 9:30, 9:40. Yeah. So here it's 5:10 in the evening. And so it's early one for us. So yeah, just remember that. But I make myself available to you to get through this, because it can be quite difficult if you don't have support sometimes. So don't be afraid to reach out, and if you want it to be kept just between us, that's also fine. Yeah, don't be afraid to reach out for help. I'm there for you. So next week, as I say, we'll cover invocation. And mantras 1, 2, 3. We'll begin with the invocation on Tuesday. I look forward to seeing you then. I hope you've enjoyed today's class. If there's anything that you weren't clear about and you want to ask me anything about it afterwards, please do so. I have to go and prepare Bhoga now because my parents will need to eat by 7, so I need to prepare Bhoga and do an offering. So I leave you now. Have a lovely weekend. Been great to meet you all, and I'll see you on
Prabhuji.
Yes.
Is it Monday or Tuesday, Prabhuji?
Monday.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was thinking that.
Is there something happening in India on Monday?
No.
Okay, all right.
I just heard it as Tuesday, but so I just wanted to reconfirm.
Yeah, sorry, that was maybe me being a bit a bit slow today. Yeah, Monday. It's Mondays and Thursdays your classes. So. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much. I really look forward to seeing you all again then.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Have a lovely weekend.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.